A trove of leaked Pentagon documents reveals how deeply Russia's security and intelligence services have been penetrated by the United States, demonstrating Washington's ability to warn Ukraine about planned strikes and providing an assessment of the strength of Moscow's war machine. The documents portray a battered Russian military that is struggling in its war in Ukraine and a military apparatus that is deeply compromised. They contain daily real-time warnings to American intelligence agencies on the timing of Moscow's strikes and even its specific targets. Such intelligence has allowed the United States to pass on to Ukraine crucial information on how to defend itself. The leak, the source of which remains unknown, also reveals the American assessment of a Ukrainian military that is itself in dire straits. The leaked material, from late February and early March but found on social media sites in recent days, outlines critical shortages of air defense munitions and discusses the gains being made by Russian troops around the eastern city of Bakhmut. The intelligence reports seem to indicate that the United States is also spying on Ukraine's top military and political leaders, a reflection of Washington's struggle to get a clear view of Ukraine's fighting strategies. The new documents appear to show that America's understanding of Russian planning remains extensive and that the United States is able to warn its allies about Moscow's future operations. The material reinforces an idea that intelligence officials have long acknowledged: the United States has a clearer understanding of Russian military operations than it does of Ukrainian planning. Intelligence collection is often difficult and sometimes wrong, but the trove of documents offers perhaps the most complete picture yet of the inner workings of the largest land war in Europe in decades. The leak has the potential to do real damage to Ukraine's war effort by exposing which Russian agencies the United States knows the most about, giving Moscow a potential opportunity to cut off the sources of information. Current and former officials say it is too soon to know the extent of the damage, but if Russia is able to determine how the United States collects its information and cuts off that flow, it may have an effect on the battlefield in Ukraine. The leak has already complicated relations with allied countries and raised doubts about America's ability to keep its secrets. After reviewing the documents, a senior Western intelligence official said the release of the material was painful and suggested that it could curb intelligence sharing. For various agencies to provide material to each other, the official said, requires trust and assurances that certain sensitive information will be kept secret. The documents could also hurt diplomatic ties in other ways. The newly revealed intelligence documents also make plain that the United States is not spying just on Russia, but also on its allies. While that will hardly surprise officials of those countries, making such eavesdropping public always hampers relations with key partners, like South Korea, whose help is needed to supply Ukraine with weaponry. Editor's Picks. 75 years after The Lottery was published, the chills linger. Simple, satisfying 3-ingredient barbecue sauces. How did a $2 billion trove of art end up in a random attic in France? Representative Mike Gallagher, Republican of Wisconsin and a member of the House Intelligence Committee, said he expected Biden administration officials to brief lawmakers on the matter when Congress returned to session next week. It seems like a massive counterintelligence problem, the fact that this trove of documents was leaked, he said. We are talking about things that could damage our national security and CIA efforts in Europe and around the world. One section of the documents is categorized as coming from a CIA daily intelligence update. The material in that section reveals not just who the CIA is spying on but some details on how. One intelligence report, for example, demonstrates that the CIA is using intercepted communications to spy on discussions inside Russia's defense ministry. The documents reveal that American intelligence services are not only spying on the Russians, but are also eavesdropping on important allies. In the pages posted online, there are at least 2 discussions about South Korea's internal debates about whether to give the U.S. artillery shells for use in Ukraine, violating Seoul's policy on providing lethal aid. One section of the documents reports that South Korean officials were worried that President Biden would call South Korea's president pressuring Seoul to deliver the goods. Another section of the documents, from the CIA, is more explicit about how the United States has learned about the South Korean deliberations, noting the information was from a signals intelligence report, a term spy agencies use for any kind of intercepted communications from phone calls to electronic messages.